Episode 1, A Vow in Blood. Gray clouds swirled in the sunless sky. Thunder roared and the rain poured down. However, the heavy drops of water seemed to stop in midair, turning into dense rivulets that slid down to the bottom of the smooth surface of the curved, transparent dome. Enclosed inside the dome was Hill Valley, one of the 7 cities of the Federation that survived after the nuclear holocaust. Caleb Hudson was standing in the special care ward of St. Adam Hospital in the central area of western Oakland, one of the neighborhoods inside the dome. He looked through the stained glass window, staring down at the crowded street corner, letting his thoughts drift away. A month ago, a terrorist organization known as the Hellfire Squad launched a bomb attack on the memorial square of the Liberation Memorial in the central area, killing hundreds of people. Among those killed were both of Caleb's parents. Caleb's sister, Daisy, was lucky enough to survive the nuclear bombs, but she could not wake up from her injuries. For 3 months, she lay in the hospital bed in a coma, relying on drugs and medical equipment to maintain her life. Then she started to wake up. Her doctor told Caleb that Daisy's wounds would not recover on their own. She would continue to decline, with her organs eventually suffering irreversible damage until she died in agony. Only the most medically advanced surgery could save her life. The cost of the surgery was $10,000 in New World currency. This was an astronomical figure that Caleb did not have. His dark eyes narrowed as he returned to the present. His arm stiffly took out his phone from his inner pocket. It was made of translucent glass. On it was a short message that he had read over and over again without responding. 6 p.m. Wilson Park. I might be able to help. Warren. After reading it again, Caleb quickly made a decision. He turned around and went to his sister's bed. He gently stroked her pale and delicate face with the back of his hand. His black eyes regained some color. "Daisy," he whispered, "I won't let you die, I promise." Hearing no response, he headed for the exit. Half an hour later, Caleb had made his way to Wilson Park. Wilson Park was on the edge of an older neighborhood that had once been the nicest part of town, but now it had become a buffer zone between the city center and the slums. By day, the park was relatively safe, but at night, gangs and predators lurked in the shadows, waiting for easy prey. As the motor started to hum slightly, the maglev bus slowly drove onto the platform in the rain. Caleb gazed out the tinted windows. Under the influence of the increasing radiation clouds, the current storm had lasted for 3 months. Even after passing through the sieve of the dome, which allowed rainwater into the city, it was still cloudy and rainy. Along the streets filled with water, the bus came to a quiet stop in front of the bustling street-level shops across from Wilson Park. Caleb saw Warren Cruz standing in front of a diner on the corner. Warren had known Caleb's father in the old days. Caleb had grown up calling him Uncle Warren, even though he was not actually a blood relative. Now, Caleb took in Warren's unkempt appearance with a feeling of uneasiness. Warren was middle-aged with a greasy look and a shaved head. One tail of his short-sleeved button-down shirt had come loose from his casual shorts. Both his shirts and shorts were deeply wrinkled. Warren's ample belly bulged, and his overall shape was round. "Well, you're not bad," Warren said as he caught Caleb's eye. Caleb did not know what Warren meant. He looked at Warren in confusion. Warren just grinned. steering Caleb into the Walnut Street Cafe, an all-night diner a few steps away. He didn't enlighten Caleb as to his thoughts, at least not now.
"You haven't eaten yet, have you?"
Warren asked. Caleb shook his head.
"You gotta try the daily special," he continued. "It's the best thing on the menu."
Before Caleb could say anything, Warren ordered for both of them. After slumping into a run-down pair of leather seats with a scarred plastic table between them, Caleb quietly stared at Warren's mouthful of yellow teeth.
"So you need cash for Daisy's operation,"
Warren said, looking at his phone.
"How much do you need?"
Caleb was not surprised that Warren knew about his family's situation. "I still need $8,500. Caleb had managed to save $1,500 from the victim assistance fund he had been given, but he still needed a lot of money. Warren hissed, sucking in a breath of cold air.
"That's a lot of cash," he said.
Caleb forced a smile and did not say anything. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it," Caleb insisted.
"Are you?"
Warren said, whistling to himself. "Please, Uncle Warren, you said you could help," Caleb reminded him.
"Well, if you're really willing to work, getting that kind of money won't be a problem."
Caleb felt a surge of hope. "What do I have to do?" he said, his eyes brightening.
"I'll help you. It's just a matter of time,"
Warren said cryptically as he took 2 sloppy plates from the delivery cart and tucked them into the meatloaf.
"As long as you can survive."
"What do you mean?" Caleb's stomach turned at the sight of the food on the plate. It smelled like it wasn't quite cooked. Warren spoke between large bites.
"I'll take you to a place after we eat. You'll see what I have in mind."
Warren continued to eat like it was his last meal. Then he gazed at Caleb's untouched plate with longing.
"You're not going to eat yours?"
he asked, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. Caleb shook his head. Warren started at the other dish as if it was his only delicacy left in the world. Trading his empty plate for Caleb's full one, he resumed eating noisily. A few moments later, he finished it. Warren paid using his phone and walked out of the diner with Caleb following closely behind him. They walked along the street that became seedier and darker as they walked. Trash was piled in heaps on the sidewalks, and they stepped over more than one bum sleeping in the gutter. After many turns through alleyways, they were both covered in rainwater, and Caleb was wondering if they were walking in circles. Finally, Warren stopped and gestured to a red door in front of a run-down brick building. Warren held open the door, and they both entered. Walking into the front hall, the lights were dim, and it was empty of people. Warren pushed ahead of Caleb, silently shuffling to the elevator. After a red laser beam scanned up and down to confirm that it was safe, the elevator clanked closed and suddenly started down at high speed, causing an immense feeling of weightlessness. Caleb had never been in an elevator of this type. He felt his heart pounding and hastily adjusted his body's center of gravity to keep from falling. Warren picked his teeth with a dirty fingernail, looking at Caleb, but not saying anything. After a time, the elevator suddenly stopped, and the doors slid open. The first thing Caleb saw was what appeared to be a vast warehouse with walls lined in silvery metal. The room was roughly square and measured hundreds of feet in each direction. Countless figures were walking, working at terminals, and speaking to one another nearby.
"Welcome to the headquarters of the Delta World Exploration Association."
The home of the Alpha Hunters? Caleb was beginning to understand.
"That's right,"
the older man confirmed. Warren turned around and looked into Caleb's eyes with a smirk on his lips.
"Now, are you ready to follow in your father's footsteps?"
Warren waited quietly as he looked at Caleb, who was deep in thought. Under the dome, the leaders said that the roads that led in all directions supported the prosperity of the city. However, this was all an illusion. There were really only 2 roads, good or bad. The Alpha Hunters were the best of the best. "My father?" Before Caleb could finish, Warren interrupted.
"Yes,
"I'll do it."
I thought so. The apple never falls too far from the tree, eh?"
Warren was suddenly very happy. He led Caleb to the magnetic suspension platform on the right, and they soon arrived at the administrative hall. Dozens of AI terminals were aligned on the walls of the white circular corridor. Several other candidates were already using terminals. Warren steered Caleb to a waiting machine. All citizens carried phones that verified their personal identity and could perform all kinds of functions. Caleb used his phone to connect to the terminal. The registration process was completed in seconds. When Caleb put away his phone, Warren tugged at his shoulder.
"This way."
Warren stepped onto the magnetic suspension platform, heading to the storage center on the negative third floor. There, several tracks of logistics transportation system passed through a thick, black metal alloy wall and connected to an intelligent system in the depths. These rails had the ability to quickly classify, sort, and transport gear for Alpha Hunters. Recruits only needed to use the terminal to quickly pick out the items they needed. It was extremely efficient. Of course, the corresponding cost was naturally not small at all.
"Let me think,"
Warren said, scrolling through the options on his screen.
"First, I'll rent you a power suit, a rifle, and ammunition. And you'll need emergency drugs and buff packs, of course."
Caleb nodded in approval, his head spinning.
"Although it's a little expensive, it's all necessary. You can't afford to be cheap or careless."
Warren seemed to be talking casually as he made his selections. He quickly helped Caleb pick out the equipment and sent a list to Caleb's phone. Caleb gazed down at it, his eyes growing large and the mind-boggling costs involved. Power server, 30 days rent, $2,000. Rifle and ammunition, $700. Emergency medicine, box, $200. Temporary strengthening drug, bottle, $100. Looking at the equipment on the screen and cost, Caleb ran his fingers through his hair and said awkwardly, "Uncle Warren, I don't have enough for this." Almost all of his savings had been deposited into his sister's hospital account. His current available balance was around $100.
"No way." "Yeah, all right, let's see what the damage is."
Seeing the total, Warren moaned a little. Pushing Caleb aside, he connected his own phone to the machine and reluctantly completed the payment. Gazing skyward, he said,
"Well, I guess that makes us even, Rosario. I must have owed you and your son in my previous life. Damn, this really hurt my retirement portfolio."
After that, the tracks began to turn. A large, pitch-black suitcase with the logo of the Delta World Exploration Association, or DWEA, was delivered to the front, landing softly at Caleb's feet. Warren's eyes were filled with a small flame of resentment as he said impatiently,
"Remember to pay me back someday, eh?"
Caleb nodded earnestly. "I will." Warren waved a hand as Caleb rubbed his own temples. How will I ever get the money to pay Uncle Warren back? He'd have to find a way. Pulling the wheeled suitcase, the two of them went to the basic training ground on the same floor. Caleb completed the 1-hour training, and Warren paid the fee, with barely a second glance. After putting his phone back in his pocket, Warren opened Caleb's suitcase. He took out each piece of equipment and introduced them one by one.
"This is your PA-2 power suit. It has a fully enclosed design, with a power support device and an intelligent system. Maximum working time, 10 days. Full load working time, 24 hours.
Caleb took the power suit into his hands. It was made of a flexible material and didn't weigh as much as he expected. Warren grabbed it back from him and returned it to the suitcase, pulling out a long gun next.
The K-14 combat rifle. 7.62 caliber, standard load of 30 rounds. It has a high lethality and a strong stopping power, but it can only instantly kill the enemy when it hits the fatal target area.
Caleb didn't even have a chance to hold the rifle before Warren returned it to the case.
This is your emergency medicine pack, including gauze, duct tape, rapid tourniquet, and so on, for stabilization on the battlefield.
Warren placed it back in the suitcase.
And this is your buff pack.
Caleb examined the metal tube.
When injected, it has a strengthening effect, Warren continued, improving the body function for a short period of time. The side effects are very strong and can only be used once a week. Don't forget.
What happens if you use it more than that? Caleb asked, marveling at the liquid inside the injector.
You'll overdose. A small overdose will cause damage to your intelligence permanently,
Warren answered, raising his eyebrows.
And larger overdoses will result in death on the spot. So don't forget, kiddo. Once a week. That's it.
Warren's expression was suddenly serious, and he had a wistful look in his eyes.
Do you remember when you were a kid and your dad and I took you fishing that one time?
Of course, Uncle Warren. I remember it like it was yesterday. Warren looked sad.
Well, I promised your dad.
Caleb waited for Warren to continue, but he didn't.
Never mind, he said,
wiping his tired eyes.
Now hurry up and familiarize yourself with this stuff. These aren't toys, they're tools. Tomorrow at 6 a.m., meet me outside. I'll text you more details on your phone.
After saying that, Warren squeezed Caleb's shoulder and turned around and left. An hour later, Caleb left the building with his huge black suitcase. He walked back to the bus stop. After paying the fare, he returned to Oak Center. His home was a temporary apartment provided by the police. The furniture in the room was covered with white dust-proof covers. In the wardrobe, there were all kinds of clothes hanging in garment bags and plastic wrap that had yet to be opened. It was a small apartment, but it suited Caleb. It was quiet, and the south-facing windows looked out on a surging river. Placing the suitcase in the corner, he walked into the bathroom and washed up. As soon as he changed into clean clothes, his phone pinged with a message. It was a short message from Warren. It contained the details of the mission. It read, New mission coordinates. A0419. Mission type E. Mission time 4 days. Basic reward $10,000 plus recycle reward. Requirements: Team of 3, level 0, level 1, level 2 hunters. The coordinates of A0419 were shorthand for a GPS location, accessible through his phone. Doing a basic search, Caleb learned that the approximate range was in the former Los Angeles region. It was a region where human activity was frequent in the old days. Now, post-nuclear war, the degree of danger was not high. Mission Type E was the code for exploration and recycling. E-class missions were considered good missions for rookies to clear the adaptation period. I didn't think Uncle Warren would come through like this. 4 days and $10,000 in payment. It would be enough to pay the hospitalization fees of his little sister. Caleb continued regarding the mission particulars. Low-level hunters and 3-man team. I wonder who the other team member is. Uncle Warren had said he was coming on this mission to help Caleb get started, but who the other hunter would be was a mystery. Perhaps it was someone Warren knew. Caleb opened the basic information again and flipped to the list of ranking association members. Opening his training reference materials, he took in the information. DWEA members were also known as Alpha Hunters. They were divided into levels, 0 through 12. Level 0 was a trainee hunter who hadn't yet accumulated enough experience to strengthen themselves. Level 1 through Level 3 was considered a low-level Alpha Hunter which corresponded to beginners who had successfully survived several missions and had completed their first evolution. They had more advanced powers and were stronger than ordinary people. Level 4 through Level 6 was a middle-level Alpha Hunter who had successfully completed their second evolutions. Their physical attributes would be even stronger, and they would awaken special abilities that were unique to each hunter. Level 7 to Level 9 was an advanced Alpha Hunter. 10 through 12 was a super advanced Alpha Hunter, and beyond that were ultra advanced Alpha Hunters, who were only rumored to exist. Other than that, there was no other information about the two. Oh, damn. A thought suddenly flashed through Caleb's mind. He had learned from Uncle Warren that he was only a Level 1 Alpha Hunter. After so many years, why is Uncle Warren still at such a low rank? It seemed like there was more to advancing up the ranks than Caleb had guessed. Caleb felt a headache coming on. He immediately sent a message to the police station, explaining he would be out of touch for several days on personal leave. He then flipped to a familiar video on his phone. As the video began, Caleb gritted his teeth and made a vow. "Hellfire King, I will make you pay with blood." The video loop played. It was a grainy news clip with a woman's voice narrating the scene. According to police, the main culprit behind the explosion of the Monument of Liberation is the terrorist organization known to law enforcement as the anarchist-leaning Hellfire Squad. Their leader, known only as the Hellfire King, was previously responsible for incidents in South America and Europe involving the deaths of thousands of innocent civilians before today's attack. He is also believed to have participated in many small-scale terrorist attacks against the people in western Oakland. It was as if he had been hit in the stomach, remembering the first time he had seen the video. His parents had been killed. His sister had been put on a ventilator. The clip showed the photograph of a shadowy figure taken by surveillance cameras. The founder of the terrorist organization. Caleb paused the video. The man in the photo was the Hellfire King. But Caleb already knew his real name, Gunner Storm.